Okay.
I never thought I'd be so excited
Haven't even opened it yet.
for something like this. It's a game changer. Hi there, yo folks, I'm Sean, the Modern Yeoman, and if you're new to the channel, then a real quick history about us and what we're doing here. Last fall, my wife Holly and I bought this 4-acre property here in East Tennessee to start raising our own food and raising our own animals. And shortly after we bought this property, my parents, my mom and my dad, bought the surrounding 6 acres. So altogether, between my parents and my wife and I, we have about 10 acres of land here that we're trying to cultivate and grow from scratch. Now, we don't know much about homesteading other than what we've learned through a lot of reading and a lot of watching other homesteaders on YouTube. And so that's what this channel is all about, is kind of learning as we go, and you guys get to follow along with the journey. That being said, it hasn't always been roses and cake. There's been a lot of challenges that we've faced in the past 7 or 8 months that we've lived here. But I think we've handled all of those challenges pretty admirably, sometimes more so than others. Well, recently there's been a pretty big challenge with the house itself and the septic tanks that we've been dealing with, especially when it rains. But I think we have a pretty cheap, at least temporary solution that we'll get into. But first, let me show you around and give you some updates on some things. First, as you saw in the opening, it seems like we've been getting strawberries galore popping up everywhere that we look. We started noticing them maybe about a week ago. I was out mowing the lawn or something, or walking around, and I looked down and I saw a little bit of red. I was like, wait a second, that's a strawberry. And then I started looking around a little more, and they were everywhere. You know, we live right outside of a little town in East Tennessee called Strawberry Plains. And at first I thought that was just kind of a fun little local moniker, but there's a reason that it's called Strawberry Plains. And there's literally strawberry plains around here everywhere, including our property. So you don't have to look far to see strawberries on the ground. In fact, I'm seeing some right here. Here we go. These ones look a little rough, so I'll feed them to the chickens. And that's kind of what I've been doing with most of the strawberries I've found. They're smaller than normal, but that's okay. They're really, really sweet and they taste good. I want to get just a bunch of them, rinse them off, wash them up, and then make some sort of jam or jelly. We've been really surprised by the amount of free food that we've been getting just here on our property. So there's the strawberries, and we're actually noticing a lot of berry bushes. I don't know if you noticed behind me, but we actually have a lot of blackberry bushes that are popping up. We found a couple of raspberry bushes as well. And then, of course, there's the herbs and things like the sweet Annie, which we talked about a few episodes ago. So, you know, we're excited about gardening and starting our own crops and starting our own plants, but turns out there's a lot of stuff that's already been started for us. Let's go give these to the chickens too. So a lot of people have been wanting to see the progress with the deck on my parents' house, and it's done, right, Dad?
It's mostly done, like maybe 95%. There are places I need to touch up.
Oh, but it looks so good.
I appreciate that.
So you knocked all of this out. You power washed it first,
Yeah,
which we
power
got. We
wash.
got the results from that a couple episodes back. You power washed it, and then you just sanded it. And then
And,
after you sanded it,
Just get busy painting.
you just put
or
the stain
staining.
on. Now, a couple people have asked what type of stain you use. Do you have that handy?
It is.
Do you have that
it's
bucket?
Valspar.
I'll see if I can find the bucket and put it on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's. I think I. No. It's in the garage. But yeah, we can show. Them
This
that.
looks really good. It really pops. And
does.
this
It
wood's
sets-
going to be protected for maybe a couple of years now, right?
Well, they guarantee for 10 years, which is one of the reasons we went with the solid.
Really pops against the color of the
It's
house.
a pretty good contrast, I think.
It matches with the roof color. Not matches, but it's close to it.
Right.
It's a shade of red.
And at some point, Mom and I are talking about getting some shutters, pretty much
match
the
it.
same color. For now, it's nice. We've already done some.
gonna say, have you
chilling out here?
I was going to ask if you had taken it on its maiden voyage and
We
sat
have.
down in these chairs.
Yeah, we plopped down some big bucks and went to Walmart and bought these fancy chairs.
Well, they look good. It looks great out here.
They're comfortable. So
And you've got a sweet view.
Yes. So I'm about to mow, but yes. What a view! It's beautiful.
We were talking about taking this thing down.
Yeah, we had chatted about that just because it looked to be in such ratty shape, but after that pressure wash, it really kind of came back to life at that point.
Yeah.
And then it was just a matter of kind of picking out a stain. I know their opinions are mixed, and it really does just come down to personal preference. There are some people who are like, oh man, why would you paint or stain over or wood like that? You know, would much rather have the actual wood grain showing through. And then there are others like me. It's like, no, this
I think it
fine.
looks amazing. I think it's really good. Well done.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
Dad.
that. Thank you.
So you might be wondering what happened with our septic system. Well, nothing really happened with it. Generally, it works fine, but whenever it rains, we have problems with it. Long story short, a septic system, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like a holding tank for your wastewater. The water that sits in that holding tank, it's underground for a long period of time, and eventually that water is processed, it's cleaner, and then it's distributed out into the ground in what's called a drain field. I think I did a pretty poor job of explaining how a septic system works. So if you're still confused, look it up on Google or YouTube. They'll probably do a better job than I will at explaining it. But for us, long story short, whenever the drain field or the ground where that water is distributed to gets flooded, soaked up with water, with rainwater, the water in the septic tank has nowhere to go, and therefore you can't flush the toilets. We dealt with it, I want to say 2 months ago. I actually had an episode where I mentioned that we couldn't flush the toilets because we were getting really bad flooding. Well, last episode it was raining really bad. We got torrential rain, and there was a period of about 5 or 6 hours where we couldn't flush the toilets. And that's okay on a short term. You can hold out on a short term. But long term, that's not tenable. Well, how do you fix it? Typically, you have to get somebody to come out and actually dig up your drain field, fix part of your lawn to make it more conducive to draining out, which in our case, we did check into it. It would be a very expensive endeavor, and that's something that we're actually saving up for. Our drain fields, the lawn out here for the 2 septic tanks, we actually have 2. That's another quirk of our house. We have 2 septic tanks, 1 for each toilet. Both of those drain fields get very soggy when it rains, and we'll often just wait for a while in order to flush the toilets. We can't do that. We don't want to do that, but at the same point, we don't have tens of thousands of dollars to spend to get those drain fields fixed. So we've come up with a bit of a temporary solution that I'm pretty happy about. Let's go check it out.
Yes.
Rolling.
Okay.
Right.
It's like right at me. All right.
So,
No, I was supposed to start by asking you a question.
well,
So, Sean, what do you got going on here?
the solution to our septic issues, well, a temporary solution
Okay.
for when there are problems and we can't flush the toilet. And there's 3 components to the solution, and all told, you can spend under $30 for it. First thing you need is an empty 5-gallon bucket, a bucket filled with sawdust. Technically, you don't need a bucket for this, but we got this sawdust for free from the local lumber mill.
Cool. So what did you just kind of walk up to them and say, hey
Said,
guys,
hey,
you
can we have some sawdust? And they're like, there's a shovel.
Huh?
Grab as much as you want. And then this thing.
Okay.
I never thought I'd be so excited
haven't even opened it yet.
for something like this. It's a game changer. It's not a game changer. It's convenience and it's making things easier, and that's
Right.
why I'm excited. So this is essentially a mini toilet lid
Oh, okay.
that's supposed to fit on top of a 5-gallon bucket. So we're gonna give that a shot and see if that actually works. So this thing costs like 15 bucks on Amazon.
Hey, there's the click.
And that's it. So basically, in order to use this, you start layering the bottom, you layer the bottom with sawdust.
Sure.
And then it's good to use. And then once you're done using it, you cover up your business with more sawdust.
So you go to the other bucket that's full of sawdust.
You go to the
and
bucket
you
that's
just
filled with
dump
sawdust.
a little bit in there.
And you cover up your stuff with
Okay,
sawdust.
all right.
And from what we've heard and read and researched, it doesn't cause any smell at all. None whatsoever.
Nice. Can you
Once
turn that into
it's
compost?
filled up, or once you've got it to a level that you're comfortable with,
Right.
you can turn it into compost. Now, a lot of people will use it in their main garden compost. We're not going to do that.
Just
we know
feels
that's
a little-
gross.
little
It feels
funny.
a little weird.
Yeah.
So we're going to find a compost spot back in the woods.
Okay.
Somewhere deep back in the woods that we're going to compost this stuff at. Some sort of secret flower bed back in the woods.
And Holly, you've got to be super excited about this.
I actually am. Because to not be able to use the toilet when it rains without worrying, oh, is it
Yeah.
going to flush or not, is
Yeah.
just really, it's a big headache.
It's a
And
pain.
we just don't feel like getting our whole yard dig up for the septic lines right now. So this is a great little interim solution. And actually, it brings back very fond memories of my childhood.
Oh, so you had experienced something like this.
Well, this was kind of my idea because when I was a kid, we would go out night fishing on the boat. So we would take fishing trips and we would do night fishing. And we all had to use the bathroom on a bucket that had a life ring on top of it.
Oh,
A life preserver.
preserver.
That was the toilet seat. So I said, Sean, why don't we get a life preserver? I'm like, better yet, go on Amazon and see if they have.
And somebody.
And someone has upgraded the life preserver to
oh,
a real
man. So
toilet seat.
you're going to take a stroll down memory lane as you are taking care of business.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be very nostalgic.
Well, that's awesome.
It looks
guys.
great.
And you said it's only costing you a total of.
This was $15. The actual toilet seat itself was $15, and these buckets, you can get them for cheap, probably.
Those are like $3 or $4.
We got them for $3 or $4 at Lowe's, but a lot of people have them lying around, so you could probably get them for cheap.
Sawdust was free.
The sawdust was free.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, I just walked up to a local lumber mill and said, "Hey, can I have some?" And they let me shovel as much as I wanted. That's it. That's the whole thing.
The big reveal.
That's the big reveal. Now, hopefully we won't need to use this thing anytime soon, but it's good to know that we've got a backup in case things get backed up. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. And as always, remember, in life and on the homestead, slowly, slowly.